Hey guys, today we're in the book of 2 Kings chapter 3. Now as we enter into chapter 3, we're actually kind of going back into time. We're getting some more details of some things that happened in between the kings here. And so it says, in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Ahab, became king of Israel. Now, we've already read about that, right? The son of Ahab, Jehoram, has become king of the north. And so that's what it's talking about, right? So he became king over Israel and Samaria, and he reigned for 12 years. And in this 12 years, he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, though not like his father and his mother. So he was bad, but he wasn't bad as Ahab. And he put away the pillar of Baal. Nevertheless, he clung to the sin of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which he made Israel to sin. He did not depart from it, right? So even though Jehoram is king, right? So remember, Ahab was king, and then his son Hazael was king. Hazael only lasted 2 years. He died. Now Jehoram is king. Now we're in that section of Jehoram of the north, not Jehoram of the south. Jehoshaphat is still kind of king at the beginning of that. So during this time, we've read that when all of this change is taking place after Ahab dies, Moab decides to kind of get away from Israel. Moab has been under the thumb of Israel since David. And so they have been paying taxes to Israel because David defeated Moab, and they have been having to pay him taxes. Now Ahab dies. Hazael is a terrible king. Jehoram becomes this king. So now there's not really a good king, right? And so the king of Moab sees a way out from paying these taxes. And so this takes place. So we have Mesha, the king of Moab, says, hey, I don't want to pay taxes no more to Israel. We're out. We're going to stop doing this. And it says Moab rebelled against the king of Israel, against Jehoram, to get out from paying taxes. And so Jehoram comes down to King Jehoshaphat of the south, right? So the king of the north comes to the king of the south and says, hey, Moab is kind of trying to get away from us. Do you want to help us? And King Jehoshaphat says, you know what? I will help you. Well, King Jehoshaphat is an older king, but he's a better king military-wise. And so King Jehoram says, hey, okay, let's go to war, but which way should we go? King Jehoshaphat says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to come down from the south. We're going to walk through the desert and come up into Moab, which is modern-day Jordan, from the south, from the desert. He'll never see us coming from the desert. Nobody would ever come from the desert because it's a real desert. There's nothing down there. And King Jehoram says, cool, you're the better military advisor. You've won a lot of campaigns. I'll trust you. And so that's exactly what they do. They come down through the south, and they're coming up from the south to defeat Edom. But we see here something happens. They get caught in a circle, in a roundabout. They start walking around in circles. They get lost, okay? It's kind of what it means here. They get lost and they start walking. Well, it took them, they're walking for 7 days. They didn't pack enough water and food for 7 days. And now they're out in the middle of the desert, and they say, hey, we're going to die. We're literally going to dehydrate. Something is a matter. And so the kings say, is there no prophet around here? They're sensing that maybe there's a sin issue. Maybe there's a spiritual issue. God has them lost for a reason. We need a man of God to tell us where to go. What's happening? Something is happening. And so some of the helpers, servants say, well, we do know a man of a guy, and his name is Elisha. right? Elisha, the one who took over from Elijah. He says he poured water on the hands of Elijah, which means he was the servant of Elisha. That's a pretty good title, right? To pour water on the hands of servants. We will see later that the Messiah will gird his loins, he will tie a cloth around his waist, and he will pour water on the feet of the disciples. And it just means that he's a servant. And so these kings come to Elisha, and he says, hey, I don't like you guys. You guys can kick rocks, but I do like Jehoshaphat. So because Jehoshaphat is here, I will answer you, right? And that's where he says in verse 14, if it were not for the regard of Jehoshaphat, I wouldn't even answer you. But he says, here's what we need to do. We need some music. We need some worship. Find a musician, play him, and the Spirit will tell us what to do. And that's exactly what happens. And the Lord comes to him and he says, hey, I'm going to make this desert, this dry steam bed, this ditches, this desert region. I will fill it with water, but you will never see thunder, lightning, or rain. But I will fill it full of water, and Moab will be yours. And I love verse 18. It says, this is a light thing in the sight of the Lord. This is a simple thing, right? To be able to hydrate thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of troops and animals. This is a simple thing. This is a light. This is child's play for the work of the Lord. It's an amazing statement. And he says, hey, and he will give Moab into your hands. And so we see that the morning they get up, what happens? It says that the country will be filled with water. And it's exactly what happens. Now, probably it's a flash flood. Now, we don't know that. No rain would cause that, but for some reason they get up that morning and water instantly fills this land, fills all of the ditches, fills all of the desert, and so much so that when the king of Moab looks to the south and he sees all of these kings down there, it looks like it's running with rivers of red, right? Because it's picking up the water, the reflection of what? The red dirt, right? Moab is known for the red dirt. And so they see all of this and he thinks, oh my goodness, Israel and Judah, they have fought amongst themselves. They got in a tiff and now they've killed everybody. And he tells all of his soldiers, hey, let's go down because they've killed everybody. They've killed each other. Let's go down and get the spoils of the war. So they're riding south down to this, but that's not what has happened, right? Israel and Judah is there. The Lord has delivered them into the hand. They've come in thinking that they're just going to pick up dead bodies and gold off of dead bodies and the spoils of war. But in reality, it was Israel and Judah. They were ready for war. And man, they waylay Moab, because God gave it to them. And they do exactly as God instructs them to do, to throw rocks in all of the good soil, to cut down all the good trees. Notice here when it says cut down the good trees, it's not fruit trees. That's forbidden in Deuteronomy chapter 28, but it would have been any trees that are good for wood. That's the trees to cut down. And so they do everything that they are said. The king of Moab takes about 700 soldiers and tries to get away, but he can't get away. And we see in the last couple verses here of chapter 3 that he takes his oldest son and he sacrifices him to God, right? Which was their God, which is Molech. He sacrifices him to Molech to try to get this answer. And he sacrifices burnt offerings on the wall. And there came great wrath against Israel, and they withdrew from him and returned to their own land. Now, because of all this happened, Israel and Judah does not ultimately defeat Moab. Okay, they come close, But because of all this that happened, kind of Israel and Judah lets these few hundred soldiers and the king of Moab kind of ride off into the sunset. Now, this will come to bite them in the end. But for now, they let them go, but Israel and Judah come out as the victors, and we will see Moab fight another day. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense, and that is setting us up for the next couple chapters. And we will see you tomorrow in chapter 4. God bless.